So I've always been like a hipster or a hippie. I've always been counterculture. To answer your question, the thing that kind of got me into the mainstream of being who I already was essentially is the medical mandates, and I started performing in D.C. when they did the Defeat the Mandates rallies in L.A. and I was the only rapper really there, and that's not to say that I'm the best rapper to do it. I just was one of the only ones that kind of wasn't scared to speak up against this mainstream narrative and agenda, get blacklisted and blackballed and canceled and demonetized and all these things. I'm in a very strange, or I guess it was really God, but I'm at a very specific point in my career where I'm not super rich and I'm not super poor. So like I was, I'm kind of able to do whatever I want. Because like when people are super rich, they're also controlled by the dollar, the same way somebody who might be, who's really chasing money. So thank God I was in this position where like I'm really able to do and say what I want without fear of like, being canceled. No one can cancel me except, maybe God or my family or something.
Ah, well, and so what about this relationship between politics and culture? We keep hearing this, right? That politics is downstream from culture, this idea. So this is where you're trying to make, are you actively trying to make an impact on culture and politics, or is it just making music?
Yeah, I want to make an impact, not necessarily on politics, but what we talked earlier, on this little briefing we had, I guess like socio-politics is what you would call it, and just culture, like you said, is kind of just the way people look at things. I think in hip hop, there's so many oxymorons in a sense. Let me explain. Like I was just talking with my friend earlier, we're promoting in hip hop, gang violence and glorification of illegal gun use and things like this. But as soon as someone like me talks about the Second Amendment, that's like a racist Republican thing. So it's like, okay, so in movies and Hollywood and entertainment, we can glorify gang violence and gun use and all these things. But God forbid I exercise my Second Amendment right without being looked at as some like racist Southern Republican guy who, it's like doesn't make sense. And same with like, okay, we can go help Ukraine fight World War III, and that's heroic and brave and that's amazing. And like we see pictures of like Zelensky holding weapons and people are like clapping like seals. But as soon as I hold a weapon, I'm some radical domestic terrorist. So I'm just trying to change the culture as a whole because we kind of normalize degeneracy. And it's weird when I was never like pro or anti-abortion. I never really spoke up about things or anything that was political. But it got to the point where like we started like celebrating things that shouldn't have been celebrated. That's kind of where I started, waking up and speaking up, and that's where I hope to change the culture. And I don't really care who you vote for, but I definitely care, if you know where things stem from and where they come from and where policies affect your life and who puts them into place and things like that.
What made you change your mind about the Second Amendment in the first place?
Yeah, my cousin died in a school shooting. When the government or police or local government or federal government, when they allow things like this to happen, when we see these mass shootings, some people want to run to the government for help. I want to run away from the government from help. I don't think somebody should be able to get a gun in 1 hour and go shoot their wives or husbands, God forbid. So there are small things that I think are beneficial, but I think specifically the left kind of likes to, take that ball and run with it all the way down the field. It's like, okay, if we take an inch, give an inch, we'll take a mile. So for me, I think the only way you're gonna protect yourself and your family is you. It's not gonna be police. It's not gonna be local government. It might be your neighbors. God willing, you have some good neighbors and a good community and stuff like that. Or if you're in a book club or Jewish or Christian or church or whatever it is, like I'm all for a local community. I'm all for protecting yourself. I'm all for arming up legally and changing the whole viewpoint around the Second Amendment and protecting your family. And people don't really look into the stats either. Most deaths are suicide. Most deaths are with handguns. And people see these extreme cases with ARs every once in a while, and it's scary. It's very scary. Like I said, my cousin died, and I could have been the guy out there campaigning to remove guns from legal gun owners. But I've met so many legal gun owners, and I walk around in states, whether it's open carry or concealed, and you're walking around people with guns every day, and things don't happen. So if it's just like you're better off, you're more likely to get eaten by a shark or like killed by Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean?
So I'll take that as a joke. No. What do you make of this, ostensibly what people are calling, the governor of New Mexico suspending the Second Amendment in there?
I try not to be black-pilled, but I saw a lot of Democrats and left, leaning people that were very against it, and it gave me some hope that every once in a while there will be a policy that's so extreme that it brings people together, like similar to the mandates. Like I said, when I was performing at these mandates, there were Nation of Islam and rabbis and Jews and Christians and left and right, and it even said pagans for whatever it is. It was everybody, everyone out there. I saw signs that were totally different. God wins in the end, and but to answer your question, what she did is wild.
So what kind of art, music you think can be made to kind of breach this divide? Because this is something that I struggle with. I like to think that American thought leaders, that this show really is for everybody. But people tell me, no, it tends to be for people that tend to be, center right and something like that. And there's some people that just are never going to go for it. But what about in the cultural space? I think the opportunity exists for bridging that divide further. So how to do that?
Yeah, so
we don't want to create extreme, just to build on what you said a bit earlier. We don't want to create these extreme situations that suddenly bring everyone together necessarily, right?
Of course, yeah. So to first to bring up what you said, I think you're very important. I think that it's all a big spectrum, just like gender. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's all a big spectrum. Like anyone slightly right of Bernie Sanders is radical to a lot of these people. You know what I mean? So we live in that world where Russell Brand's conservative now, but none of these people are. And Joe Rogan is a radical Republican, and a guy like Elon Musk who's dedicated his life to like tech and progressive kind of green energy, he's a conservative now. But yeah, to answer your question, I think comedy, music, entertainment. Social media, the same way that the left has used Hollywood for so long, it kind of has to be the same way. And I'm not saying like the right has to do that now, but it almost needs to be like this reverse, like psychological operation. If you want to get people that have been like in the matrix for so long, the only way you're going to get them out is through the same way they got in, but the other way. Like you have to slowly program people back towards like, it sounds crazy, but if these people are so hardwired to believe certain things, the only way you're going to get them out is through entertainment and laughing and music and comedy and normalization. So with like my character, Trump the Don, my goal is not to make you vote Trump. My goal is not to make you conservative Republican, but it's to like he's definitely not Hitler. Like as a Jew, I'm letting you know I was offended when people were like, he's Hitler. And it's like, it cheapens the Holocaust. It cheapens the real name of Hitler. So that always bothered me. And then you have people genuinely that like think Trump is the second coming, and they look at him like this. And it's like, and I like Trump. I'm a Trump guy. I'm not a fence sitter when it comes to this. But I think we have to bring not just the Trump name down to earth, which is my goal. I guess if I have one goal with the Trump the Don is normalization of these people and these kind of people that are being deified or like vilified, right? But I think that's how we do it. As you said, it's through music, through entertainment, through culture. We're seeing it in hip hop now where people are just accepting Trump more. And that's not to say like Trump is going to get the black vote, or that's not to say like everything. No, but look where we came from and look where we are. And that's what I love. I love to see a cultural shift. I love to see counterculture working in action. And guys like JP Sears, guys like myself, we're pointing and making fun of things that have been so kind of extreme and taken too serious for so long, and it's like the fact that we got to a point in society where men can compete with women, and most people agree that that's not normal, whether you're on left or right. They've been interviewed, there's been polls, like even the liberals, Democrats, most people don't agree with that, but we got to a point where you just can't speak on it because it's like you'll be labeled something, and people are so scared to be labeled. But as soon as kind of people stop caring what people call them and what they get labeled as, we're gonna see a much brighter America, a much brighter West, and a much brighter future. I think extremes are important only in the sense of where you fall. So like when you see a far left or a far right, whether it's politically, culturally, religious, right? Like where it's like no longer freedom of religion. It's my religion or you're going to kill you. So like there's extremes everywhere, but it's important that these people exist, not on a majority or a mass scale, but we need to know like where the poles are. So it's like what I mean, where it kind of starts and ends. We need to know where the extremes are, but we can't find ourselves on either side, so it's very important. If you're a little bit over here or a little bit over here, that's fine. You know what I mean? It's always been that way. I'm libertarian, I'm left-leaning, I'm right, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. So it's important, but I think people need to just, keep God first and keep their family safe and smile, breathe some fresh air, drink some water, go to the gym, and everything's going to be good, man.